to your squats, okay? We are working mainly our quads and glutes, all right? They're our big focuses, and the rest of the body is going to be working too. So everything has to be switched on, has to be focusing big time, and here is your squat 101. If you've done it with us before, you can skip to where you choose the squat you're gonna do. You've got 4 options. With your setup for the squat, our feet start roughly hip width apart, toes ever so slightly out. For you, this might be different because your hip anatomy is going to be different to mine and different to the person stood next to you, different to the person you see on Instagram. So you might be really narrow, you might be really wide. Personally, I'm about here when I do my squat. Okay, as I do my squat, I'm thinking about 3 main things, and it's going to be my elbows, or my back nice and tight, my knees screwing into the floor or ripping the floor apart to get my glutes working, and then a big breath in and bracing like someone's going to punch me in the stomach, okay? So I'm going to go from the very start again. With those feet in our comfortable squat position that's personal to you, you are going to do one of 2 things. So feet are coming in and out like so, and we're going to turn our feet out, so we're screwing into the floor, and you should feel your bum turn on. Okay, that's your first option, and you'll maintain that through a whole squat. The second option is you're going to imagine that you're stood on 2 big sheets of toilet paper. There's a zippered line all the way down the middle. As you do your squat this time, you're going to rip the floor apart and rip that zippered line, okay, and that is going to get the same outcome, but you might feel better with one of them. It's really important that the whole time you keep your feet grounded. So if you're going to look at my shoe here, alright, down at the bottom, you've got 3 points of contact, okay? That big toe, alright, little toe, and then your heel, alright? So I'll take my shoes off for the rest of this, but make sure you're nice and grounded and rooted to the floor the whole time. So my preference is to rip the floor apart. So what I'm going to do is get grounded with my feet in my squat position. I'm going to rip the floor apart. My back is tight, big breath in and brace. I'm going to sit down nice and low. I squat as low as I can without my heels coming up or my back rounding forwards, okay? You want to stay as tight as possible with our upper back and upper body staying in one position the whole time. With the breath, you can take a big breath in at the top and brace. I'm going to punch you in the stomach so we're nice and solid. You hold that breath from the start all the way down to the bottom, drive up and exhale as you stand to the top here. If you struggle to think about where you're breathing, think about being in a swimming pool. This is your water height here. Big breath in, go down underwater, and then breathe out as you come to the surface. And that is your squat 101.
Alright, so once you have progressed from your bodyweight squat, we have 4 variations that we can choose from to increase the intensity.
First one is going to be your goblet squat. So you've got a dumbbell in hand, and you hold it nice and high and easiest to load.
Option number 2 is going to be your low bar, where you will use a barbell, load on your rear delts on your back, and have a bit more of a glute emphasis.
Into your front squat, okay, so our barbell is racked across the front of the shoulders, keeps our torso really upright, and our knees travel forwards a lot and keeps the quad.
And then option number 4 is your hybrid, where you've got a bit of quads and glutes, where we're doing a high bar squat, where the bar will rest on your traps with the barbell.
Working muscles for our goblet squats, going to be our quads, rest of the legs are going to come in too, and a bit of core to stabilize. We're going to set up with a plate on the floor, and then our heels are going to sit on top of that plate. We're holding our dumbbell up in that goblet hold, so imagine you're holding a big goblet of your favorite beverage. Elbows are nice and tight. So the reason we have those heels elevated is so that we can keep our torso upright in this squat. So we're going to push those knees forward over those toes, aiming to get our hamstrings towards our calves. Then we're pushing the floor away to come back up. So all the way down, all the way up. The more knee over the toe here, the more quad that is going to work.
All right, crew, so when we're going for our low bar squat, we're going to be working our entire legs and body, but there's going to be an emphasis on the glutes and hammies here. So setting up, we've got our bar at about shoulder height, maybe a little bit lower. We're going to grip onto the bar so your hands are nice and even. So usually there are some little lines here, smooth and rough, that you can use as a guide. So make sure you're even, so when we step in, the bar will be even. So one foot is going to step forward, we're going to come underneath. Now for the low bar, the difference here is where the bar sits on our back. So we want to go low so that it is creating a shelf on our rear delts there, okay? So if we're up too high, we want to come down low. Here I'm going to pull my elbows back and tight. So getting that nice squeeze through my back to create that shelf and stability. Now from here, I'm just going to pop up and stand tall. I will take 1, 2, 3 baby steps back. 1, 2, and setting myself up 3. Now you will notice I have a little bit of a tilt forward. That is to make sure the bar stays over my center of gravity. Now, going into our squat, everything is tight. I'm going to take my big deep breath in, brace through my core, screw my feet in or tear the floor apart. Send my hips back, maintain that tilt so that bar stays my center of gravity, drive up, stand tall. Hips back, sitting low, tear the floor apart, drive up, stand tall. When we want to walk in, we're just going to take it in, feel that bar touch, drop down, and you're done.
Okay crew, your front squat. With this one, it's a little bit weird because the bar's going to be pressing on your neck a tiny bit, and if it's pressing just there, it's in a good position, alright? What I'm thinking is having my elbows up and pointing straight forward the whole time. If we really struggle to go elbows that high, we can cross our hands over, and that will keep them up in that position there, okay? The shelf that I've created just here is exactly where the bar's going to sit. So what I do is I put my hands just outside shoulder width, I step 1 foot under, and I come under the bar and set it on that shelf that I just talked about. Step up, step back, 1, 2, and settle. And see how high my elbows are the whole time. From here, I go, big breath in, and brace, rip the floor apart of my feet, sit down nice and low, see how upright my torso is and how far forward my knees are, and then I come back. Walk in, hips, and we're good. Make sure the elbows don't drop through the movement, feel those quads burn. For your high bar back squat, okay, we start setting up the bar at about our shoulder height, okay? So mine is actually 1 below, all right? I love hole 25. Ideally, you'll have the numbers just here. You'll pick it every time. Where do my hands go? All right, as close as my shoulder mobility allows me, all right? If it's a bit painful and you're tight here, or we're twisting because one shoulder's tight, just take them a little bit wider, okay? So I get my hands set up as close as my shoulders will let me. Sliding in or out when I'm under the bar, okay? 1 foot goes out, in, under the bar. We look at the middle, and I put my head under, okay? When I'm in here, the bar sits across my upper traps, all right? Not on the bone at the top of my neck, okay? Across my traps there, all right? And I squeeze my back nice and tight. So shoulders are back and down. I step up, and I come back. 1, 2, and then I settle. From here, I'm going to think about a few things. So squeeze my back tight, close my ribs, all right? So I'm in my neutral position with my spine. From there, big breath in and brace. I rip the floor apart as I sit down into my squat. I hold my breath through the whole movement, step up, breathe out. Big breath in, brace, rip the floor apart, breathe out. Okay, so I'm bracing through the whole movement, and my feet are ripping the floor apart the whole time. That's your high bar. Setting up for the barbell RDL, okay, we're going to grab our J hooks and we're going to pop them just below hip height. If they're too high and we've got a heavy weight on, we're going to struggle to get it off. Okay, we're going to have to go on our tiptoes and come back, and when we get it on, it's going to be hard as well when our grips are struggling at the end of a really hard set. So just below hip height, then we grab our bar, set it up straight across, and you'll see there, it's perfect for me.
So we're going to walk up to the bar, and our feet or our shoelaces are going to come right under the bar. Feet are narrow and parallel, so just about hip width apart. Our thighs are touching the bar, and we're going to grip onto that barbell just to the outside of our legs. We have a solid grip. From here, we're going to snap the bar so the pits of our elbows come forward, and we switch our lats on here. There should be no movement through the torso, so we keep that core engaged, but it's just helping to engage our back here. From here, we're going to stand tall. That bar comes off the J hooks. We take 1, 2, 3 baby steps back, set our feet into the ground, standing tall, and we're ready to go. So from our starting position, we are bracing through our core. So big deep breath low into that belly. We're snapping the bar so our lats are engaged. And from here, we're gonna send our hips back. We're holding our breath and we're searching for that nice stretch in the back of the legs. When our hips don't go any further, that's when we're gonna push through the floor to stand tall back to that starting position. We're looking for the bar to stay nice and close to your body. So it's gonna travel in a straight line all the way up and all the way down. We don't want it to move away from the body. Jack has a soft bend in his knees and the shins stay vertical for the entire effort. So a couple of RDL do's and don'ts. We want to maintain a neutral spine, so we don't want to round through our back. That can happen when we try and reach too far down, yeah? So it doesn't matter how far or how low the bar gets. You just work to your own range. Another thing is that we're going to stick our butt out first, and that's going to make an arch through our back. So we don't want to stick that butt out and keep that chin up, because that's going to be a really uncomfortable and unsafe position for our back.
Rounding the shoulders.
Yeah.
See.
Really important that we don't round our shoulders, so that's why we want to keep those lats engaged. So we want to set the shoulders back and down and stay nice and tight, so we don't have that round or protraction through those shoulders.
Foot position.
Yeah. Our feet want to be in the perfect position for our RDL, so we don't want to have them too wide. It's a really common mistake we see, which is going to come into those adductors too much. So just bring those feet underneath those hips and try and keep them nice and
For our face pulls, we're going to use our cable machine. Okay, you want to set up with your cable around eye height. Okay, and then we're going to use an attachment with ours. Luckily, we have two separate cables coming out. You might have one cable and you can use a rope attachment or separate D handles, something that you can grab where the fabric looks like this. So if you're using a rope, you're going to grab at the end of the rope and up against the rubber so you can pull against it. If you're using your handles, you're going to grab the fabric again so you can pull nice and tight. With this one, once you're set up there, you go down into a half kneeling position and make sure you're a little distance away so you can have a full extension at the bottom, at the top of every movement. We don't want to be there and stopping there because we're too close to the cable. Okay, so once you're down there, we're looking to pull up in line with the forehead and externally rotate the shoulder. So the thumbs point backwards, we have a nice big gap between our forearm and our bicep, stopping in line with the head and then controlling back into our stretch position. Don't rock back and forwards to help yourself. If you get to that point, it's too heavy and you've gone too far, but make sure you get a good squeeze and make sure we don't start pulling in here to our neck because it's too challenging. For your hanging knee tucks, okay, it's quite an advanced movement. If you need to regress, you can go down to your Gar hammer raise on the floor, okay? We are gonna go and grab the bar either side of our shoulders, okay, into a nice dead hang. All right, and because we want to work those low ab muscles, we're going to bring the knees to the chest and shorten between our ribs and our hips so we lift up. So the goal that Lana's going to do is bring knees to nipples, all right, trying to round the back at the top to show her bum to the wall in front. All right, we want to make sure we squeeze on the way up and the way down. For our dumbbell chest fly, we're going to try and get close to an isolation movement, so one joint moving, and we're going to work the chest. For your dumbbell chest fly on the flat bench, you're going to start seated right at the front. You're going to lie down for us, okay? And from here, bring those feet back so they're nice and grounded, all right? You want a solid base and pushing down through them the whole time. From here, we just have a small arch to get your shoulder blades in place. And then we bring the weights out to the side into a V position and then down into a big W stretch position, okay? So with this one, guys, your elbows are going to be the lowest point and your hands will be outside the elbows the whole way on. Ooh. Wait,
the whole way.
Yeah, the whole way down. So this means that we're going to be out in that weak position with long levers to stretch that chest, and then we just use that chest to pull back to your starting position in line with the chest. From behind, when I talk about the V and the W, it starts like this. So our shoulders are set in place, we come out towards a V shape, and in one smooth movement, we go down into that big W shape. I go as low as I can without my shoulders popping up or my hands going into a weak position. I stay stacked in a nice straight line and come back to the starting point. From there, V, W stretch,
and
Okay,
back
crew,
in.
for our trophy crunch, you're going to work the upper abs. All right, you might need to anchor your feet for this one. We've used a plate. You might tuck it under a dumbbell, a barbell, something that's solid, and that is perfectly fine to make the movement nice and stable here. With the movement itself, you're going to have your arms nice and straight, dumbbell in hand. You can start body weight, and that's perfectly fine. Once it gets too easy and you progress through the rep range, you can add the weight in to make it harder. All right, so from here, what you're going to do, arms nice and straight above the shoulder, tuck the chin to the chest, and slowly crunch up using those upper sets of abs. Shoulder come off the floor, hands stay above the shoulders, and we slowly come back down. Okay, we control on the way up and the way down, we are squeezing those abs throughout the whole movement, okay? That's what we want to work. Use that mind-muscle connection to make sure we're focusing there. You're going to finish your set when you can't lift your shoulders off the floor anymore.